Hello, this is the second video about simplifying rational expressions. So, there are two key terms that we need to know before continuing with these videos. One of them is difference of squares. Difference of squares means that you have x squared minus some constant squared. For example, x squared minus 9 or x squared minus 16 or even x to the fourth minus 25, for example. And so, as you can see, the first term is of course the square of something. Here it's just the square of x, but in this case we have the square of x squared. And the second term is also the square of something, in this case 3 squared, the square of a constant. In this case, this is 3 squared, 4 squared, and 5 squared. However, something very important to notice is that it's the difference. So there must be a minus between the two terms. Without the minus, it doesn't work. So what about this? What's special about this case? Well, the special thing about this is that you can factor out a difference of squares into x plus c times x minus c. And that is always true. So this is very important. And to see why this is true, we will use factorization, which we learned before, and we will do it by grouping. And we will see that we get the same thing, but it's just a rule that was just generalized, so it was easier and you didn't have to go through grouping in order to do it. Okay, so we have x squared minus c squared, and we want to factor this out. If you do it by grouping, you might remember that you have some a times some b, and you want that to give you your constant term, in this case negative c squared. And then you have a plus b, and you want this to give you the term with degree of 1, which would be x. In this case, it's 0. So what is so find an a and a b that give you this result. And so a must be negative c and b must be c, or vice versa, it doesn't really matter. So if you do this, then you can group and say x squared minus cx plus cx minus c squared, just like we have done it before. And now we can group them and we factor out an x here, and we have x minus c, and then we can factor out a c here, and we have x minus c. And so this is equal to x plus c times x minus c. So you could actually find this rule by yourself or work it out whenever you have it, but it's just easier to memorize this, that the difference of squares just always factors out to this. And now another keyword that we must know before continuing with the other videos is domain. So domain, as you might know, is the range of x. So it's like all the values, all the possible values of x. So, for example, as you might recall, we worked an example in the previous video, and we stated that a, well, let's call it here x could not be negative 1/6. So if they ask you for the domain of a function, then you say for any x except -1/6 or things like that, or just writing what we had here at the top, just x does not equal -1/6, and this is the domain. So whenever they ask you for the domain, they want to know for what values of x is this undefined, or vice versa. You can say if like what values of x would make it a defined function, but since most of the times there's only one value that makes it undefined and all the rest like work the way they are supposed to, then we just state which x value makes the rational expression undefined.